So we've got a pretty interesting development in the David story because, as you know, ever since his home was raided by the police, the LAPD have been looking into his property. There's been speculation as to whether any blood would be found. People are suggesting that maybe the murder took place inside the Hollywood mansion where David was staying. But now a new update has come out, and it is appearing to be the case that the neighbors in the area claimed that Celeste was actually living with David in that property. Okay, this is the Sun article about the situation. And it says here, teen whose decomposing body was found in the back of David's Tesla lived with the singer in the weeks before her death. The 15-year-old girl found dead in the trunk of singer David's car was living with him at his rented Hollywood Hills home, a neighbor has claimed. Celeste Rivas went missing from her mother's house more than a year ago and is believed to have been with the singer, real name David Anthony Burke, until her decomposing body was found in his Tesla trunk earlier this month. So more pictures from outside the property there, and David's hair in the corner for some reason. It says the singer and the teen are said to have been living at this $20,000 a month rental property. Rivas' remains were found on September the 8th in the black Tesla registered to David after it was taken to a Hollywood tow yard. A homicide investigation is launched. He is said to be cooperating with the authorities and has not commented on the death. So, little is known about her relationship with David, but her brother Matthew told the media they were aware the pair was dating before she went missing, and a source told the US Sun she had on occasion returned to the family home only to disappear again. The US Sun learned that David was living at a Hollywood Hills mansion rented by his manager at Interscope Records, John Marshall, who also has not commented on the death. Officers were photographed leaving the $20,000 a month home carrying evidence bags following the discovery, and an immediate neighbor has now claimed in a chat with the US Sun that he saw the singer and Celeste at the time together and believed they lived together at the home. The resident, who wishes not to be named, said he returned to Los Angeles from a trip this week and was stunned to hear of the news. I just got here like yesterday, he said on Wednesday. They were pretty quiet. I never saw the police there and I didn't hear them partying or anything. Nothing wild. I was shocked to find out what happened. There's more close-up pictures, and security cameras have even been seen placed outside the home, and no doubt detectives have been looking into what's on those cameras. Okay. Broken parts of a Ring doorbell are seen on the ground after the police raid. That's going to be damning evidence. It says, I didn't know he was a singer. This is the neighbor, but I knew he had a Tesla. It was always parked outside, and he was with the girl regularly all the time, he said, recognizing Rivas from photographs. I last saw them a couple of months ago. I'm not sure, but I thought they were just kids, like a couple, both aged 18 or 19. I had no idea. It's crazy. I'd be in my car and we'd acknowledge each other and say hi, but that was about it when they were heading to the store or whatever. I did ask him about his Tesla as his car was hit and he never fixed it. He didn't really say what happened. Wonder what that dent in the car is all about. The neighbor claimed that although the singer was polite, he preferred not to make small talk with those living nearby. No doubt, if you got a minor living in your crib. Anytime I tried to talk to them, they weren't very engaging, the resident added. They kept to themselves. Their friends told me they found a little girl in the car, but I didn't realize that it was her at first. I haven't spoken to the police, but my friend who owns the home has. The owner of David's $3.6 million rental, Malden Trifonovich, confirmed that his manager signed the lease and has since asked to terminate it, and they've started moving out their belongings. So we've already covered him moving, but this is really interesting new information. The idea that the neighbors are speaking out. They said that Celeste did live there. They'd seen her there on numerous occasions. And, they were saying, yep, seemingly she was actually living in that property with him. Now, for the record, I just want to correct something that's been going around. This is really interesting. Now, I might have been duped by this as well, because there's a TikTok going around that basically says Celeste wasn't dismembered. There's been no actual confirmed official reporting that that suggests that the dismemberment was true. It's possible that isn't true. It's possible that maybe it's something that people have just assumed based on some of those music videos. I'm not going to lie. I'd seen it so many places. I thought that she had been dismembered, but apparently, according to official sources, that wasn't the case.
All right, guys, so according to the County of Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office, the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez has been released to her family. The GoFundMe page that was set up to collect donations for Celeste's funeral expenses has been disabled, and as you can see, a service has been set for October 5th, 2025. Her COD is still being listed as deferred, meaning it is still pending investigation. This probably has to do with the toxicology. That sometimes takes weeks, could even take months. And guys, I want to address another comment that I keep seeing on my page. Every time I look at my notifications, there's a new one pertaining to this. People seem to believe that Celeste's body was dismembered. Law enforcement never ever said that. The medical examiner's office never ever said that. And I thought this too until I recently went back and looked at where this actually stemmed from, and it turns out that this news article is not known to be credible, nor did they claim to have any source close to law enforcement or to the medical examiner's office that told them that. But a ton of other news outlets saw this, and then they started piggybacking off of it as facts, but it was never actually confirmed. Law enforcement initially said the decedent was found severely decomposed inside a vehicle on September 8, 2025. She appears to have been deceased inside the vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. We are unable to determine her age, race, or ethnicity. The decedent was wearing a tube top and black leggings size small. She has wavy black hair and was wearing jewelry, including a yellow metal stud earring and a yellow metal chain bracelet. Now, after she was brought to the medical examiner's office, we had a little bit more of a detailed description of her. This is when they shared her height and when they shared her tattoo description on one of her fingers. One, if just a head and torso were found, like a lot of you are saying, they would not have a description of what was on her finger. And two, if her body was dismembered, she would not be clothed in a black tube top. She would not have jewelry on. She would not have had size small black leggings, and the medical examiner's office would not have been able to release her exact height, especially not as quickly as they did. Now, as for why it was not released that she had a David tattoo allegedly on one of her fingers, I think that was strategic. Law enforcement knew that her body was found in David's Tesla. They probably wanted to give a very faint description of who this was to see how he would react, to see if he would say, yeah, that's my girlfriend, yeah, that's my ex, yeah, that's my friend. Did he hear this vague description of the victim and make the connection between him and the victim for law enforcement, or did he hear this vague description and distance himself and try to act like he had no idea who this was and hope that maybe they didn't see the tattoo? Only time will tell. You guys know I'm continuing to dig into this. You know I'm going to continue keeping you guys updated on the latest information pertaining to this case. So make sure you're following me. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments.
So, you want anything? My bad. So people are saying the police never said she was dismembered. They said her body was not intact, severe decomposition. Every time I've ever heard law enforcement talk about finding a dismembered body, they say it was dismembered. They didn't say we found a not intact body. Now, for the record, okay, I have seen this in pretty official looking news sources. This is KTLA 5, and they said the remains, according to a report from the LA Times, which is another pretty reliable news source, was described as a head and torso found in a bag inside the Tesla's trunk. So that information has circulated on unofficial sources, but according to that person, it isn't true. Now, I wanted to just return to this original post that I was talking about earlier on and just touch on some of the comments of what people are thinking of the neighbors confirming that Celeste was actually living with David at the time of her disappearance. It says that he saw them around at least a couple of months ago, but he's not sure. Also, apparently they were always together, kept to themselves, and he just thought they were a regular couple that were 19 or 18 years old. So I can't lie, I don't keep up to date with my neighbors. I see some of them once a month or so it does add up. I just keep to myself, and my neighbors keep to themselves. It's just incredibly unfortunate what happened, but I'd take the neighbor's point of view with a pinch of salt. He says, I didn't know he was a singer, but I knew he had a Tesla. It was always parked outside. He was with the girl regularly all the time. I saw them a couple of months ago. I'm not sure. Thought they were just kids aged 19 or 18. Oh my God, people that knew him definitely knew, including his guilty manager. People are saying, of course his manager knew. And I don't rule that out that he was fully involved in the murder. Unfortunately for him, he happened to represent a sick man, but he chose the money and prestige of being his manager over denouncing PDFs. Okay, people saying, I don't think they were involved in the murder. Even more of a businessman. Leaving her in David's car and moving the car around seems like a bit of a desperate act. I don't care what it's called to me. This was literally kidnapping. Not every kidnap means trapping a child somewhere against their will. Many kidnappings will be subtle and manipulative and not even feeling threatening. What David did and keeping her hidden away, that's 100% kidnapping. It's actually called trafficking, and he's the Romeo type. One of the most dangerous ones. Perhaps you could call that the lover boy method. Hit the nail on the head. There's so many cases of this happening. A recent one is Alicia Navarro, who ran off with her adult BF when she was just 14. She disappeared for 4 years, then walked into a police station when she turned 18 so she could be asked to taken off the missing persons registry. Kidnapping doesn't have to be forceful, and what happened to Celeste happens to young women every day. It's disgusting, and I don't know how these grown men live with themselves. Someone says, I had assumed she lived with him. She's too young to have a job. She's a missing minor. Yeah, he could afford to pay for an apartment for her, but he seems hella controlling based on his reposts, and so I don't think he would be down to do that. He had all the money and all the control. I'm sure he paid for her phone and had all the passwords too. Some people aren't believing it. It says The Sun is a very untrustworthy news publication company based in the UK. They legit have a 13% trustworthiness score. That aside, though, if those actual photos are of the home, they basically just show two major points, a ring camera and a surveillance camera. If these were working, the detectives at this point knew who at least moved the car in and out of the driveway and who was last in it. I don't know if the testimony is real, but I wouldn't put too much weight on it, though, due to it being The Sun and a hidden person talking. So people are questioning the reliability of The Sun elsewhere in the comments. And yeah, they're kind of going after it. But tell you what, I think is possibly a very reliable news source is Vanity Fair. Okay, shout out to Dan Adler from Vanity Fair. He just did a deep dive article for Vanity Fair. Okay, this just dropped, and he reached out to me. Okay, he reached out to me. He said, "Yo, can you give me some comments on this?" And I kind of broke a few things down for him in this article. So go and check that out. Okay. I guess you gotta sign up, so you're gonna have to get the bag if you want to read what I had to say in this article. I'm not gonna lie, I ain't even read this yet, so I might need to circumvent this paywall real quick and find out what's going on in the article. All right, we're in. All right, we've cracked the code. Okay, my apologies to Dan. I won't read the whole article. Go and check this article out yourself if you can. If you've got the means, go and check it out. But it seems really interesting, and I'll just touch on some of the stuff that I was included in here. Okay, I'll read you the first paragraph, then I'll skip ahead. All right, and you're gonna have to go check this one out on your own steam. All right, about 75 miles from Hollywood, an animated high school science teacher held his phone screen up to his students. He had taught Celeste Rivas Hernandez years ago. He told the class, displaying a photo of himself alongside her, Rivas Hernandez, a 15-year-old girl who was found dead in the this month in the trunk of an impounded Tesla, he added, been missing since I taught her. Okay, so I rock with the way Dan writes. This is like really, really good writing. Okay, this is actually like really high quality journalism. Okay, but look, we'll jump ahead. All right, to how I got mentioned and how everybody else has reacted. Okay, Rivas Hernandez remains were found in David Tesla while he was on tour in support of his debut album, as his upcoming shows were nixed and Crocs and Hollister cut him off from a joint campaign. David quickly became a durable fixation in the finicky online pop culture spaces from which he sprung. The 24-year-old hip-hop streamer Aiden Ross, among the class of new media personalities who Donald Trump courted in his 2024 campaign, vowed on Monday to have a former bodyguard of David arrested for complicity in what he took as a given to be David's exploitation of a minor. David's manager didn't immediately return requests for comments. Okay, and so he said, I think it's almost a little too suspicious. The British YouTube hip-hop documentarian Traplaw Ross tells me Ross has emerged at the fore of a crowded online field in recent years as a dogged chronicler of the real-life dramas surrounding rappers and gang violence. When this ecosystem trained itself on David's music and personal history this month, Ross sprung into action, releasing a 2-hour analysis titled David Hid Clues About Murder in Every Song, and continued a string of shorter follow-ups. Okay, FaceTiming from a recording studio in Los Angeles, Ross rattles off the questions he still has. Could prosecutors prove a potential case if David was on tour when the body was found? Would David keep releasing music? He runs through a list of conspiracy theories surrounding the death, offering his read on their relative merits. Above all, he is absorbed and planning another deep dive. It really does feel darker than anything I've ever covered before. Interscope Records suspended all promotion of David on Friday, and collaborators and institutional backers have begun distancing themselves. But as Ross points out, what's really crazy is this guy's just chilling. He's at home playing Fortnite right now. By Tuesday, as documented across the social media page discussing David's music for hints, his Spotify streams were surging. Okay, so look, if you want to check that out, go check out the whole article. It's on Vanity Fair. All right, shout out to Dan. It's a really great piece of work, really incredible writing. The way that he actually constructs sentences as a journalist is very gripping, and I really admire what he does. Shout out to him. Appreciate him reaching out to me. But yeah, we haven't got too many updates. Everybody's waiting. I've been waiting for updates. I'll be honest with you. I wanted to do a video today based on how much money David had made since this all had happened. How many extra Spotify streams, or even just full overall Spotify streams, Apple Music streams, YouTube streams he's actually generated off the back of this news, because we saw him soar past 30 million monthly listeners on Spotify as a result of this. He was already a big artist, but he was never seeing these sorts of heights. Okay, these are real mainstream. There's more than Youngboy. Okay, and I take that personally. So I've been trying to work that out, but it's actually quite a lot harder to get that data than I thought. So I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to probably work on that this evening into the morning, and I'll probably try and come up with an update for you guys tomorrow. I really want to understand how much money this guy's making in the midst of this terrible tragedy that has put all eyes on him. So I'll keep you guys updated in another video. But yeah, that's the latest update. You know, neighbors are saying that Celeste was living with David allegedly. And, you know, this dismemberment angle has apparently been well, not necessarily disproved, but it's not been confirmed by the police. And the big Vanity Fair article is going to break this down into even more detail and with excellent crafted writing for you guys. So appreciate that update, man. Appreciate you guys watching and tapping in with the content. I'll keep you guys updated. I'm waiting for an update. I'm a little bit tired. I've been cranking out the videos for you guys, but that was always the plan when I got back from the trip. I was going to go crazy, 5 videos a day for the rest of the year. That is the plan. That's still the plan. We're locked in. And if any other big trending news topics come through, I'm not going to lie, I'll probably be relieved because I'm actually ready to start covering more other things. And I think that we have probably put everything into place as far as this story goes at this point. So thanks for watching. Catch you in the next update. Peace.